And then stop recording.
All right, me. Go up first. 3, 2.
What's up? It's Tanisha Westbrook, and welcome to the Tanisha Westbrook Show. Today, I have a very special guest. But if you're new to the Tanisha Westbrook Show, this is where I break down the hottest stories in marketing, branding, the culture, and especially the state of Black businesses. So, without further ado, I would love to introduce my guest. Her name is Stephanie, and she's my sister. Welcome.
Hey, I'm excited to be on the show.
Yeah. So, the reason why I brought you on today because the reason why I brought you on was because um when it comes to entrepreneurship, a lot of times we talk about marketing, we talk about branding, and all of the bells and whistles and like the shiny stuff that comes with entrepreneurship. But behind the scenes, we don't really want to talk about money.
Mm-hmm.
And especially in the Black community, um, it's like a taboo kind of topic. And this brings me to like just thinking about myself. Um, Usually when I'm talking to people about the festival and how much money like we make, I'm very candid about it. Like, hey, this is we have a six-figure business. We make $100,000 plus a year. This is how much we pay ourselves. Profit is, 30%. These are the expenses. This is how much things cost. And when I'm in conversations with other people, other founders, a lot of times I could see like the
Drawback.
yeah, like they're like, ooh, like you're oversharing. Or they're like, well, I ain't telling you how much I make. But to me, that's how you progress as a community. So before we get into all of that, let's talk about just the financial foundation that most of us that look like us don't have as entrepreneurs. Um, First, Stephanie, I would like for you to just share a little bit about why you got into financial literacy and tell the people like what you do.
Yes, but first of all, you said a mouthful. You said a mouthful. Basically, like she said, my name is Stephanie Johnson. I am a financial strategist as well as a wealth educator. My job or my business is basically I help entrepreneurs leverage their credit, structure their businesses to access wealth. So when you say people don't want to talk about finances, that is like 100% true. So what I feel like people don't want to talk about money. Let's just say the real. People don't want to talk about money is because the lack of financial literacy. And just to put it plain, most people don't want to feel like they are just, you know, don't have the knowledge, especially around other people. So that's why you get that drawback when you're talking about those type of things. So how I got into it, and I like to be very transparent, like you say, you tell people as an entrepreneur, um, how much you make and, when it comes to that. When I came into this business, it was not something that I felt like was in the cards for me. I'm just going to be real. I was a person that I didn't have any financial literacy. I didn't know anything about business. Yeah. And just to be very candid, I was not taught these things in school. So I got into the business by simply wanting better for my family. I really just wanted to buy a house. I'm just gonna be real. I was tired of renting. And I was like, look, I'm married, I have 2 kids. It's time to buy a house.
Yeah.
Right? So the conversation that actually led me to be where I am today was a quite embarrassing conversation because it was like, your credit is bad.
Well,
Right?
that's relatable.
We went to a lender and the lender basically said like, no, ma'am, your credit is bad. You don't have a budget. You don't make enough income. So no, you cannot buy a house. And from there, that stemmed a whole beast in me to be like, okay, who are you to tell me that I can't buy a house?
Yeah.
So that's like when I got my foot in the door with the business that I do now.
Yeah, and of course, going on to say that you and your husband built the house from the ground up.
Yes.
5 bedrooms,
Look,
couple bathrooms, upstairs, downstairs.
we actually live in a nice house. Yes, we built a home from the ground up. I actually was able to purchase my dream car at the time, which was a Tesla. And then after that, I was able to start a business with one investment. So we'll talk about that a little later. But yeah, it stemmed from me just wanting better for my family.
Yeah, speaking of family, so earlier in the episode, I mentioned that Stephanie and I are sisters. So I'm the oldest. We are 11 months apart. And I think this would be the perfect time to give y'all the backstory about us as entrepreneurs. I think we would do y'all a disservice if we didn't talk about our history before we start talking about finance.
Right.
So, long story short, and feel free to chime in wherever, but we actually started our first business together. So, legend had this back in the day. So this was like
2009, 10, around that
time. We were both at Tennessee State University, Big Blue. And at the time, Stephanie and her friends, they were walking around campus, and we were all into like this vintage lifestyle. Come on. I'm gonna take it after this. So,
I was gonna say, in other words, we like to put that on. We like to put that stuff on.
Like to put that on. Okay. So, we started being known around campus as this group of people who were fly, wearing the vintage, like we were very fashionable. And from there, Stephanie and I were like, let's start a business around it. Well, before we decided to start a business, we did a fashion show. And we were calling ourselves The List, right? So we did this fashion show. We had like our friends be the models. We bought a bunch of stuff from the thrift store. We found this cool little place in Nashville, and we had our first fashion show. And it was super successful. Like, it was a couple hundred people there.
I was gonna say, mind you, this was not something we thought would blow up. Like, I feel like people used to ask us, oh, where did you get that? Where'd you get that? And then we was like, you know what? Come to our fashion show. We're hosting a fashion show. And the word spread. And I feel like when we had that fashion show, it was so many people there. And that like stemmed from like, wow, we can really do this as a business. Like, people really want to see what we wearing, how we getting the clothes that we're getting. So
yeah, and if you remember, for some reason we didn't have it set up where we were selling stuff at the fashion show. What happened was we did the fashion show, and by the end of the fashion show, people were just buying everything else we had. So we ain't had no pricing, we ain't had nothing. We were just like, okay, you want this $50. You know that, right? So after that, we went in and we started a business. And around this time, this is when Instagram was first starting. So we started this business. We started on Instagram, and this is when you could only post a picture and you could comment. Couldn't do anything else. So we would post the pictures, and then people would comment, and they'd be like, I want this. And then it would be a DM.
And we'll send it to you, or you can pick it up.
Yep. It was very simple. We wasn't doing nothing extravagant.
We later made a website, but at first, no, it was just, oh, you see it, you want it, you got it.
Yep. So fast forward, we created a website. I bought my first camera at a thrift store shop, pawn shop. And we would go downtown. We would get different people to model for us. We would do commercials. We would do all the things.
Right.
It was fun. We were very creative. And we were making a little money. At the same time, I graduated from TSU, went into corporate. And we ended up opening a studio together.
Mm-hmm.
So it was called BTS Studios. And the concept was you could come there, you could shop, get your clothes, look fly. You get your makeup done because we partner with the local makeup artist at the time. And you could also get a photo shoot.
Right, right. Don't forget about the photo shoot.
You talk about hustle. We were in East Nashville with this huge studio, paying commercial rent.
Yes.
And had no idea what the we was doing.
Everything was out of pocket. And when I say that, I mean financially and like mentally, because it was like, we want to do it, we doing it. Like, it was exciting times, but if I could go back, there's a lot of things that I would do differently.
Me too. Me too. So we were paying this rent. At the time I was working in corporate, and I remember just trying to figure out the balance. The good thing was that we had the extra cushion from corporate America, from our other jobs to help, pay for the expenses, but we had no idea how to run a business, right? So, fast forward through that, our studio was open for a whole whopping year.
Yes, it was. And I feel like a lot of people would definitely support it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a grand opening. That mug was lit. We
It
was
was
on the
packed.
patio. It was packed out, wall to wall. It was a thing. And people were just so proud to see us as Black creative sisters doing this thing. And when you think about it, Nashville now is not what Nashville was then. So it wasn't a lot of people that looked like us that were moving around in this space. And so that was our first business, and since then we've of course grown in so many different ways. And both have experienced the ups and downs of entrepreneurship and trying to understand, financial building. For me, trying to understand building, what is it like to build a life with financial freedom?
Yes.
Right? So something else that, this, I guess, with all of that, with the background, I would love to ask you, because we have we came up from the same house, same mama, same daddy. What is your take on how you grew up thinking about money? What was your experience?
Can I be honest with you?
Girl?
I didn't think about money. Why? Because those conversations weren't being had. They weren't being had in our home. And honestly, and I love my school. We went to President High.
Okay.
Right? Love the teachers, still really good friends. But the fact of the matter is, we weren't necessarily being taught about those things in school. So if we're not talking about these things, I really didn't think about these things. I didn't think about credit, because what is that? We really didn't talk about that. We were cash is king, but still the money conversations weren't being had. So my experience with money was not an experience at all. It was more so of, oh, you got the money, spend the money, and you want that, buy it. And then it's like the money's gone. Now you got to get more money. So it was just like, I really didn't have any experience with money. So,
Yeah. I mean, the truth is, we probably thought money grew on trees because
yes, that part.
privileged.
I feel like that
We
too.
were very privileged in a lot of ways, and we didn't want for anything.
Right.
So we didn't know that what our parents were going through financially, because they protected us and shielded us.
Exactly.
On the flip side of that, by the time I got into adulthood, even I'm thinking about my first credit card, maxed it out, cash advance, done, never paid it back. If I think about me going into corporate America, making almost six figures when I first started, and having all of this money and not really understanding how to leverage that at the time. I had a great credit score, a salary, but I still wasn't thinking. The only thing I thought about to my credit was okay, you need a 401k and a Roth IRA. That's about as far as I got. Other than that, I was spending hella bands to invest into the business, with no
plan.
idea what I was doing. I mean, I'm talking about buying hella inventory.
Yeah. For that, it was like, "Oh, you like this?" When we had the clothing business, it was more so of, "Oh, Steph, go and look and see what inventory you like. Imma go see what inventory I like. There was no budget. Let's just order some stuff, and then that's it."
We weren't thinking about profit margins or how we were going to pay ourselves, what we were going to save, none of those things. So, this is a great segue into entrepreneurship and personal finances because when you think about starting a business, what people don't really talk about is the hard work that it takes to get your personal finances in a place so that you can like catapult yourself with your
Right.
business. It's two parts of the same story, sides of the same coins. You can't have one without the other.
Exactly.
Why do you think so many entrepreneurs struggle with money even when they are making money?
What I find is a lot of entrepreneurs don't really understand how to manage it. You can make a lot of coin, right?
Yeah.
You could do well, but how you manage it is so important. Like you have to tell your money where to go and you have to understand how that works. So it's just to me, it just goes right on back to financial literacy. There's a lot of people starting businesses, which I say, if you got an idea, start that business, period. But you have to go after the financial literacy aspect of it as well. We know that there's a lot of things floating around there when it comes to, bringing in the coin and whether that's grant, whether that's funding, and you're putting it into your business, and it's like, now I made the money, now what do I do after that? And I feel like that right there is like the root to the problem. Starting a business and not necessarily knowing much about financial literacy as a whole.
So I'm glad that you took that path because when you hear the word financial literacy, like it could be a lot of things. But when it comes to entrepreneurship, when we're talking about the foundation, there are a couple pieces that I'm thinking about.
Yes.
The first is how we manage our personal finances, right? I remember like so going back to like our business with Shop Blackfest, Greg and I, when we started getting counseling from, counseling and coaching from business mentors, they pointed us to the Financial Empowerment Center. And
There you go.
and if y'all don't know, the Financial Empowerment Center is a resource that your local government provides for you to get empowered with your finances. And so they had a counselor there that was very specific to entrepreneurship. And the first thing that she had us focus on was separating our personal finances from our business finances. And it's a very difficult thing to do. What's your thoughts on that? Because that's one piece of it.
I feel like that's the major piece of it.
Okay.
If I'm being honest, there's a lot of, and I'm sorry, there's a lot of gurus around here, and they'll tell you, you don't need this, you don't need that, you don't need personal, you don't need, just go for a grant. And that's a whole nother conversation. Like, I really, really, I believe in grants, but still, you want to start with your personal affairs first. If you don't have a business bank account and all those things that in place, now everything is in one spot, how are you going to manage that?
Yep.
So I had to learn, which why I say I got into this business because of the fact that my lender said no when I wanted to get my personal affairs with my family in check. So how can I run a business when my personal affairs are not in check? So my take on that is start with your personal.
Yep.
Understand what comes with that. Understand you need a budget. Understand that you need to understand savings and all those type of things. Understand you have to manage your credit. If you live in America, manage your credit. Everything in America revolves around that. So once you understand those things, you can take those tools and put them into the business side, and you can be successful on that side.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like with the personal credit, I always push people to start there, because once you leverage that personal credit, now you're able to step into the pool of business credit and funding, and now you can really scale your business instead of paying for everything out of a pocket. And I feel like that's what a lot of entrepreneurs are battling with now, paying those expenses out of the pocket.
You're right. You're right. And so going back to like our story, because I had a salary and I had a lot of what they call throwaway income, or what's the word I'm trying to think of? The extra income. I was able to invest in the business, but not in the way that I think is important now. Like if I knew then what I know now, no, talking about like personal finances. So the first thing is like you mentioned having a budget. Well, in real life, what the does that mean? Like I could write the budget down. Like a lot of people, no, I'm just giving you the perspective of like how people look at it. When I first started, it was like I have an accounting degree, but I'm writing the budget down, but where the money at? Where it go? Like I'm trying to stick to it, but it's not working. So there's that piece of that, like and it goes back to what you said. Um, every dollar has a place.
A job.
It has a job, right? And I used to hear that, but it didn't register to me until I started really doing a deep dive into understanding like how finances work.
I'm just gonna just to touch back on that with everything having a job. And I've learned now, and I've been in this industry almost 6 years, and I've learned that if you don't have a budget, you don't have anything. And that could be for the personal side and the business side.
Yeah.
You have to know exactly where your money is going. But when you are doing your budget, and I feel like this is where entrepreneurs, since we're talking about entrepreneurs, this is a lot of times where they mess up. You have to know the difference between a need and a want. You're buying things that you don't necessarily need for your business right now. You just want it. So once you're able to, separate the two, then you can really, really manage your finances in a better light.
Yeah, that's interesting that you said like figuring out what you actually need and what you want. And the thing about entrepreneurs, like we work with thousands of entrepreneurs at this point. And what I've realized is that putting a definition, like we need a definition around the word need. Because what people think they need is actually, like what you said, actually what they want. But when you think about needs for a business and your financial, like the foundation, the things that come off the top of my mind is like, you need to know how to track your money. You need to know how money is coming in and how that money is going out. So instead of investing on a new car for your business, how about you invest in some type of software for you to track how your money is coming in and going out? That's one way, right? Or how about you put some money aside so that you can have a bookkeeper or somebody who is financially savvy help you better understand the money foundation. Like if you don't understand the money in your business, it doesn't matter how much money you are coming in. Cause like, and this is what used to happen to us. We started, boy, when we first, back in the day, we was like, we just want to get to making $10,000 a month, right? If I could get the 10K, if I could get to 6 figures, we in there. And then you think about, well, shit, I made 10,000, but I spent 9,500.
You ain't making out there.
You ain't, so all I got left is $40, right? So it's like if you're not really understanding those dynamics when it comes to your money with business, you're just gonna be struggling and struggling for years and years.
Let me tell you the number one question that I ask most entrepreneurs to ask themselves. Which camera do I need to look at? Over here. The number one question that you should ask yourself when you're trying to determine a need and a want. Ask yourself as an entrepreneur, is this going to make me money? Sorry. Is it going to make you money? So the things that we buy necessarily, like if it's not going to make you money, what are you buying it for? What are you investing it for your business? Because if there's no return, then why are you buying it?
Ooh, come on with the ROI. What is your return
On your investment?
And that is the one thing that, like, this year I'm extremely proud because the way that I think about money now, especially for my business, is like, how can I use this money to make more
money.
right? And a lot of people say it, but it's like, okay, so if you're a solopreneur, you're watching this or listening, like, okay, how can I start doing that? Well, first, one, separating your personal from your business. 2, tracking where the money is coming in and where it's going out. But 3, understanding that, okay, if I brought in $100 this month in revenue, how much of this money or what portion of this money can I use to make me more money?
Exactly.
Can I use that on marketing? Can I use that on running an ad? Can I use that on getting a referral partner? Like, how can I use this to make more? And that will compound. But if we're not thinking about that, what happens is we get into something where I call it like you just in a cash flow death, right? Where your money coming in, but you're using that money to plug holes in your business, and you're using that money
And now
to rob Peter to pay Paul.
And now you live in check to check again, which is the reason most people start businesses most people start businesses because it may be something that they like doing or love doing. That's one of the reasons. But the majority of people, they start businesses because they want to make some additional income.
Yeah.
So if it don't make money, it don't make sense. So literally. So we don't need to be, doing those type of things with our finances.
Yeah, so we can talk about money all day, but I would like to wrap this up with just uh, a key point about the importance of expanding your capacity around money. Because there, like you said, you can get grants, you can get loans, you can leverage credit. But from your perspective, what's the one thing that you wish that more entrepreneurs, especially Black entrepreneurs, uh, wish that they knew? Like if it was anything that they could hear that would help them, what would that be from your perspective?
I feel like I wish that most entrepreneurs knew the power of credit. I really, really do. Because we talked about how we started our business and we spent a lot of our own funds and things like that. And I used to think about like, man, if we had the funding, if we understood the power of credit back then, where would our business be now? Right? So understanding that you can literally leverage credit to access so many things as an entrepreneur, it will take away some of the struggle, some of the, things that we go through as entrepreneurs that we don't have to go through, So learning the power of credit. I feel like not enough entrepreneurs understand how powerful their credit could be to really scale. So
I agree. And there's at the beginning of this conversation, we talked about the fear around speaking about money. There's a fear around credit. There's a fear around things that we just don't know and understand. And so this conversation is extremely important. And I think it is something that we can continue on down the road about how to leverage money so that your life in entrepreneurship is not a life of struggle. Because as Black people, we think that if we work harder and if we're going through the struggle, then, oh, it's all worth it. And that's what our experience is supposed to be. But like you said, there are tools and resources out there that if we challenged ourselves to get a better understanding and more discipline around, we would be in a better places as Black businesses.
Let me add to that. It's about your mindset. you have to be transparent with yourself to say, am I really making money? Where do I see my business in the next couple of years? Be transparent with where you want your business to be, and be transparent where you say, my finances is not in check. My credit is not in check. And then you seek the information. And to me, that is what's going to take your business to the next level. You have to be transparent about it.
I agree. So the reality is, as business owners, we need to stop lying to ourselves.
Right.
And be willing to tell the truth about where we are and where we stand in our business if we're ever going to get the help that we really need.
Seek the information and then take action.
Yeah, so thank y'all for joining me on the Tanisha Westbrook Show with my very special guest, Stephanie. And I hope that y'all learned something or got inspired, but we'll see you in the next episode. Millennial Peace Sign.